Hey family, welcome to Love Samantha Lee, the More Than Just Pretty podcast. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite platform, I'm so glad you're here. We keep it real about love, faith, and life. Are you ready? Let's get into it. What's up, family? It's your girl, Samantha Lee, and I'm here for another episode, and I'm calling this one When It All Falls Down. This one is going to be about moments in this journey. Honestly, y'all, where I've had some really tough moments. And I'm hoping that this episode can help you walk through those moments, how to get out of that moment. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that moment looks like in a little bit. But I want to first thank each and every one of you guys who have tuned into this channel, who have decided to support the More Than Just Pretty podcast, y'all. This was a new endeavor for me. This was something that I really felt like God wanted me to do, was create a sister channel for the podcast. I did not even want to put my face on camera for the More Than Just Pretty podcast, but God wanted me to. And I am so grateful because some of the work that I put out when it comes to reels or different things that I see even being used on other platforms is from this. And I'm just really grateful for it. So grateful for the growth. I'm grateful for everybody that subscribes, that likes, that comments. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. It means more than you could ever know. And I'm so grateful to God for putting on my spirit to do this. So anyway, guys, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with me, I'm Samantha Lee. I have a channel on different platforms. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. It's all Love Samantha Lee. And I'm a therapist. That's what I do. That's what I'm paid to do. But I was created to create content like the one you're seeing or the ones you've seen that is countercultural. I'm unapologetically a Christian, a woman of God, and I utilize my platforms to now, since my wilderness season, since God got to me, has really been on me, that he gave me this platform, not to be a therapist who happens to love Jesus, but to be a woman who loves Jesus and has a platform and is a therapist. Like, the foundation got to be right. And so I made some big shifts in this time, and you're watching one of them. So welcome. And so in this time, you guys, with this wilderness season, some of you guys may be in a wilderness season, maybe walking into a wilderness season. Wilderness seasons are nothing that you need to run away from. Wilderness seasons are not something that should be to be upset about. They are seasons where you should lock in and be obedient. Your lack of obedience, hear me very clearly, will keep you away from promised land. Your lack of obedience will keep you away from promised land. If you continue to say, I'm going to do it my way, but God, I want what you've promised me, because let me tell you something. God is never going to promise something to you that you don't want. He created you. He knows what you like. He knows your type. He knows. God already knows. And because of that, when we get into this wilderness season, he is preparing us for something that we ultimately desire. And so I encourage each and every person on here that's watching me to lock in, be obedient, okay? Because what God has for you is greater than. What God has for you on the other side of the season is exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever ask, think, or imagine. And we can delay our promised land by the choices we make in this season, or we can opt our way out of promised land. I actually saw a comment recently that said promised land. Yes, it is promised, but you can opt your way out of promise. No, I can't. Yes, you can. How do I know? The Israelites did it. The Israelites did it multiple times. They opted their way out of promised land. How? Because they did not steward the season that they were in well. And what God calls us to do is to walk in faith. walk in faith, not talk in faith, walk in faith. And a lot of what we see is I love God, I love Jesus, Jesus this, Jesus that, but a lot of people's lives do not reflect an active relationship with Jesus. And that relationship with Jesus, there will be fruit that comes from it, not perfection, fruit. There ain't no fruit, you got to crush in the root. Because if you're trying to walk with God, you're going to try to do it God's way. That doesn't mean you're going to get it right all the time, but it does mean that you're actively pursuing the things of God. And those things are not easy. Those things are not boring. Walking with God is not boring. I will tell you that I have had more excitement in these last several months of my life than I've had in probably 8 years. There's been a lot. It's been a lot, but you got to lock in. And I would say it's worth it to lock in, because the peace that I have on this journey, the peace that I have walking this path, there are hard times, and I'm not going to lie about that. That's what this video is all about. But the peace that I've had, even in those hard times, because God is with me and I feel that, has superseded anything else I've experienced. Okay. So in this time, though, when you are in a wilderness season, God is going to call you in and out of relationships, in and out of different things that you might normally have done, in and out of thought patterns, mindsets, all those things. Those things are uncomfortable. I'll tell on myself since we're here. I struggle with the fear of disappointment. Like, to the degree that it paralyzed me. I would not do certain things unless I was sure of an outcome. So in the beginning, God had me do things where I was not sure of an outcome. And I remember I had a moment where God had prompted me to do something that I said I would never do. I'm like, I would never do this. Never do this. And of course, God was like, yeah, no, you're going to do it. Yeah, that's it. You're going to do that. Yep. Now, and y'all, I couldn't even, the conviction was so strong, I couldn't even run away from the thought. And so I was like, God, if I do this, I better get an outcome. Like, I better, because I'm talking real spicy then. I didn't understand. My fear of the Lord wasn't where it needed to be. Because a lot of us, we walk in a rebellion. We walk against what God has called us to do. We don't have no fear of God. You should fear God. Some of y'all more afraid of what that man gonna think or what that female's gonna think. You should be fearing God, because God can sit you down in ways can't nobody sit you down. God can do things in your world that nobody in your world could do to you. We're more afraid of people than we are of God, and that's mismanaged. We need to get it. We should be fearing God. There are consequences that we see in today's world. We see it on the media. People that have played with God, have utilized God to perpetuate agendas, and God said, "Oh, that's funny. That's funny." Absolutely not. So again, we have to understand that we do not need to be playing with God. We do not need to be playing with God at all, because God is not one to be played with. Okay, so the fear of the Lord should be something that keeps us on the path on some level, because a lot of times, like I said, we're rebellious. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that. I don't see why. I don't see how God. I don't see another way, God. Like we're rebellious towards God, but we don't understand. Okay. Because anywhere God is calling us, guys, is higher than anything that we could ever choose for ourselves. We don't actually believe that. We believe that our choices, what we want, is better than what God wants for us. I was one of those people. I was one of those people that really felt like if God was if God was going to send me a man, I'm not going to be attracted to him. I really believe that. I really believe that if the man that God has for me, my body's not going to want to do anything to him. I'm just going to be very completely honest with you. I just really thought like I was going to have to find my way to be attracted to him, find my way to be all the things for this man of God. Like as if not handsome men or men that I'm attracted to love God too, right? That was a misconception. That's a culture thing. Like beautiful women can't love God and really be sold out for God. I see that all the time in my comments. Like, there's men that write me every day that are like, I did not believe women like you actually have relationships with God. Like, I did not believe they could even complete a coherent sentence or actually have a moral grounding or discipline. I did not believe that would even existed. So it's this culture putting out to us that people that we're attracted to can't love God at the same time. It's just impossible. It's not true. Not true. It is absolutely not true. So I believe that. And so I've learned in this time as I've met different people, I've seen different people. I'm like, no, that is not true. There are some beautiful, beautiful women of God that are sold out for God, right? And they have, and guys, that should be something that you should really be looking into. Okay. Because if they're holding themselves accountable to God, there's a lot of conversations you don't have to have. Why do I say that? Because I put out content recently, and I don't know when you'll see this video, but I put out content recently where I said, God is preparing me for my next. I already know that. I know that. And there are things that he's checked me about. And I know it's because of whoever he's preparing me for. This, like I did a video, I made a joke about it. I was like, homie, don't play that. Like, homie does not play that. He's not like, listen, y'all, I do fitness influencing, or I've done fitness influencing for years. Okay. 5 years. I work out pretty much 7 days a week. I work out twice a day for 6 of those days. Yeah, 6 of those days. I eat clean. I really try to take care of my body. I really enjoy it. It does something for me. That's just me. I had a check in this time where God was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. Mm-mm. Yo man don't want nobody watching your body. Mm-mm. He know you fine. And I was like, oh, okay. So I can't at all. Like, not even in the name of fitness influencing and the partnership, because the partnership was great and everything like that. I was like, not even, no. I'll provide another way. It's okay. Keep that to yourself. And in that time, it was more commission. Cover up a little bit more. I'm like, this man must be watching me because God is like really dealing with me. Like, so there's things that if you're talking to a woman of God or you're dealing with a woman of God, God is going to have those conversations for you. And he's not going to let her sleep because he wouldn't let me sleep. He was like, no, you're not doing that. No. I had my hair post. I've been doing my hair post, y'all, for I don't even know how long. And God started convicting me about that too. I'm like, he got a problem with that too? God's like, he don't play, homie, don't play that. My son ain't with it. Cut it out. My son ain't with it. No. That's cute. That might have been cute. He ain't with it. He not telling you that, but he not with. Mind you, y'all, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not in a current relationship with anybody. Let me, what I'm saying? So I'm like, God, for real? Like, even if I cover up, like, no, the face, all the things that you're doing in the video, yeah, he don't play that. Homie don't play that. My son don't play that. And I'm actually going to save him a conversation because I'm going to make sure you all the way together before you even walk into his presence. Before y'all get together, I got to clean all this up because I'm cleaning him up for you and I'm cleaning you up for him. I was like, okay, God, well, I mean, I was like, okay, God, well, I like me a protective man. I've always said, y'all, I love me a King David. King David was a protector. King David didn't play that. So I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of what I prayed for. So, I mean, it is what it is. I like me a man to tell me stuff. Okay. Y'all see me. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm like, y'all know, I really do. I really do like protective men. I really do. That's like not a game. I actually like that. Some people call it possessive. I call it protective because I'm protective too. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a lion over mine. Yeah. Try it with him. Try it. Okay. Y'all, this is completely derailed. We've gone off track, but try it with mine. Sam about that life. Sam's 100% about that life. But the Lord is redeeming me. The Lord is redeeming. He has. But don't try it. So anyway, y'all, besides the point, I'm saying this to say that God, when we go through a process or when we have a promise, we go through a process. A lot of us resist process because we don't understand. For example, I could have said to God, I don't have no man. So why would I stop this? Like, it's not bad. I'm not showing anything. I'm not being disrespectful to anything. Like, I'm not, there's now again, and this is something that we tend to do. We say to ourselves, oh, well, we're not showing as much as other people show. We're not doing as much other people do. Like, we can start getting to the state of comparison. God's like, no, I'm dealing with you. I don't care what Sally Lou is doing, Susie Q is doing. I'm here with you. This is what you're not going to do. And I was like, okay, God, I trust you. But that doesn't make sense, not to the world. But again, in this process, that is what this is. There's a lot of things that God is going to call you into and out of, and they're not always going to make sense. He's going to prompt you to make moves. He's going to prompt you to open yourself up in ways, be vulnerable in ways. He's going to prompt you to start channels. He's going to prompt you to, make left and right turns, big shifts in your life, big direction changes that may not make sense in that moment. And you have to be willing to do that. That determines whether you get to promised land, because every step of obedience that you take, not he forces you into, that you take. Because some people take, oh, I'm taking a step of obedience because I lost my job. No, you lost your job. God removed that from you. That wasn't you opting for that. That was God saying, no, you need to sit down and focus on me. Everything else from that moment is the steps of obedience that he's calling you to. And what happens is we do the things we want to do and we don't do the things we don't want to do. But this is where the when it all falls down moment that I entitled this episode is that in these moments, I've already understood. I've already had the opportunity to have a wilderness. And I messed my wilderness up. I sabotaged my own wilderness season. I promised myself that I would not do that again. God gave me, out of his gracious and his mercy, decided to give me an opportunity to steward this season again. I said I wasn't going to fumble this ball. So I didn't. But in that, it confronted so many different things about me. And the fear of disappointment was one of them. So he called me to do something I said I would never do. And in that moment, y'all, I had a full-on 2-year-old tantrum. And I started questioning everything that God had called me to. Because I said to God, listen, if I do this, you better do this, this, and this. Well, God doesn't work like that, right? God is not, no. Like, I wish y'all, some of us have kids. If my daughter said, well, I'll do the dishes, but you better, I'd be like, what? I better what? I done given you this, and this. I better what? That's what God does to us. He's like, I better, huh? Since you're breathing, you pay bills every month. You got a job. You got platforms. And I realized that in that moment, not in that moment, I actually realized it after I had a full-on tantrum. But this is what I want you guys to learn from the full-on tantrum. That when God calls us to steps of obedience, at first, there will be times where you're going to get exactly what you thought you would get, or it's going to work out. It's going to work out. It's going to be better than what you thought it would be. It's like, oh my goodness, it's happening. I'm excited, blah, blah, blah. Then there's going to be, God then trains you to then not be connected to outcome. He trains you to be your validation to come from him. So it's not about whether or not everybody does a parade because you did the right thing. No, it's about you receiving validation because you know God told you to do something and you did it. You may not get the parade. You may not get the round of applause. No one may ever know what you did or did not decide to do. But God understands what he's called you to do. And God knows that you were obedient. And that's what he had to break me from. Because in this, it was almost like when I'm taking a step and I'm doing something that I never thought I would do, you want the parades, you want the instant gratification, you want those things. And God had to break me out of those things. And when that happened, it felt like, well, God, if this didn't work, if I didn't get an instant gratification from this, then is this the right direction? Am I being lied to? Are you taking me to where you said you would take me? I started questioning everything. The enemy used that to just go like just put me through a spinning. Like I just was like, God, am I hearing you correctly? Am I hearing you at all? Is this really what you want? And my go-to family is running away. Like that is my go-to. If I get uncomfortable and something when it feels like I'm being misled or I feel like I'm being betrayed, whatever, if I am experiencing something that feels like I'm being manipulated in some way, like as if God would manipulate me. But again, that's because of trauma. I want to abandon it. I just don't. I'm like, okay, I'm not letting myself get hurt like this again. And what God was confronting in that time, whether I realized it or not, was that it wasn't, big bad wolf Sam saying, oh, I can leave any, blah, blah, do all that stuff. No, you're afraid. And it took me being in that moment, having this tantrum because what I wanted did not happen, of course. But it took me seeing myself and having a moment with God. And this is what I want you guys to really come to, is saying, like sitting by yourself, getting in a room, sitting by yourself. I want you to release all of it. I mean, I was crying. I was screaming. I was emotional. I let it all out. I let it all out. And not in a way that I'm yelling at God, but I'm like, God, what are you doing? Like, if this is not you, please reveal yourself to me like you've revealed yourself to me. Hit that holy eject button because I will walk away from it. I don't need this to happen. Like, I'm not connected to this outcome. It could be anything else. Like, I'm good with whatever you want for me. If this isn't it, and that was only because what the step of obedience I took didn't seem like it brought me closer to what I thought God wanted for me, ultimately. It just seemed like I did this and nothing happened. And I'm like, I went against everything I stood for. And now, like, I don't have anything to validate me taking this step. And that lack of validation, that lack of instant gratification really messed with me. And in the moment, I'm like, am I going the wrong way? Am I doing the wrong thing? Like, if I'm doing what God called me to do, shouldn't it work? Shouldn't it happen? Shouldn't it have happened by now? No. Because God, in his wisdom, understands that the version of you that needs instant gratification, the version of you that needs validation for every right step that you need to take, is not the version of you that's going to be able to steward the promise well. Because there's going to be things that you have to do. There's going to be steps that you have to take that you're not going to get a pat on the back every single time. There's not going to be a parade every time you do the right thing. But you know that God is watching, and you know that God is aware of every single movement, every single decision that you make. And that fear of the Lord should keep you in line. That fear of getting out of this alignment should keep you in line. And so God had to teach me that even though I may not seem closer, and it does not appear that something big is coming from my every step of obedience, that I trust him enough and I want to be in alignment enough with him that it really doesn't matter if it brings me closer to the promise that he gave me. If it keeps me in alignment with him, it doesn't matter what it looks like. Because what I've learned is that the most valuable thing is not the promised land. That when it all falls down and it feels like you're alone and you don't know how the end is going to be made and you don't know where this road actually leads, you're just blindly being led. You're relinquishing control and you're saying, God, you take the reins. I'm going to be obedient. You take the reins. When it all falls down, what I've learned in those moments is that God is faithful. God is faithful. And at the point of this entire process is for you to learn that he is, to get you to remind yourself of the moments where everybody else left. And the person that you thought never would hurt you. The person that you thought never would betray you, betrayed you. In your childhood, when you trusted people and they decided to go against everything you thought that they would do. This is the moment where you realize that God had never left you. God has never forsaken you. And how dare you put the character of man on the character of God? And what we do is that we get into these moments, and when it all falls down and it feels like nothing is coming together, when it feels like, okay, God, I've taken this step of faith and I'm scared and I'm anxious and I want to go back to my old ways and I want to get it the way I used to get it. And God, of course, the enemy is going to create circumstances and wreak havoc. So you would rather go back to comfortable. I want you to push in and I want you to push through. Because you're being tested. You're being tested. You're having a Job season. You're having a Israelites in a wilderness season. You're almost to promised land. And I wish I could tell you it gets easier, but it doesn't. It gets harder. That the closer you get to promised land, it gets harder. That's why you had to go through all this. That's why you had to learn that God was faithful. That's why you had to learn that you could depend on him. That even when it looks like it's not happening, it is happening. That it all happens in the spirit before it ever happens in the natural. You realize that everybody is connected. There are times where I'm feeling promptings in my spirit and I feel a person. I call them up and like, wow, how'd you know? There's times where I've been on the phone now and my spirit starts to talk. People start to cry. And it's a word that they've been waiting on God for. There's a prompting to give, and I've given. And it's the moment, the millisecond that person needed. I've learned that we're so much more connected than we realize. I've also learned that in this process of being broken, I've been built up, become stronger, become more self-aware. I understand what I'm here to do on some level. I've learned that God's way is greater. I've learned that the version of Christianity that I've learned is lukewarm. It isn't real. That's why it doesn't transform. People say they're a Christian, but their lives look nothing like it. I'm not judging, but it does say test the spirit by the spirit, and that the spirit produces a fruit. And if there is no fruit, you have to question the root. That in the moments where I feel like I'm breaking the most, family, and I've sat down and I've cried out to God, a lot of us avoid those moments. We feel like we can't question God. But David, if you read Psalms, he questioned God. He had those intimate moments with God where he was like, I don't know what you're doing. I have no idea. Like, have you forsaken me? Have you forgotten me? There's moments where he's so angry about what's happening and the people that have hurt him, people that went out of their way. He went out of their way to protect them. And that same person betrayed him. He speaks to God about how angry he is and what he wants to happen to that person. He is so brutally honest about how he feels. But he ends every psalm with praise. Praise about what? Not praise about the moment that has not been worked out, but praise about every other moment God came through. Praise about who God is and who God had shown himself to be by that time in David's life. And it wasn't even just praise about what happened in David's life. He was praising God for the things that he had read God had done. And so sometimes, family, when things are happening in your life and you can't explain it, and you're trying to trust God and this walk seems harder than you thought it would be, I encourage you to get really brutally honest with God. Get alone with him. Get in a room, get in a closet. Like the other day, y'all, I had to go into my closet. My daughter was here, and I just had to scream and cry out to God. And when I got out that closet, my daughter was like, "What happened to you? Like, you're like a whole different person. Your energy has completely shifted." Because at one point I was stressed and overwhelmed, and I didn't know, and I'm doubtful, and the enemy had really put a lot of seeds of doubt in my head about the things I was believing God for. And it's been a fight, it's been a war. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a war. Because that's how the enemy fights us. It's the what ifs, it's the doubts, it's the shame, it's the condemnation of the things you've done in your past. It can't happen for you. I don't know. It's all those things. He brings up all the insecurities from your childhood on that have gone unresolved. That's what he does. He doesn't fight clean, he fights dirty. But he only has hold in areas where we give him room. People talk about this all the time. The enemy only has certain areas of authority, legal ground, should we say, over you. Those legal ground areas are openings that we have for him. We open up for him, meaning that the enemy can come in areas where you sin. That's why when you see people that they do deliverance ministries, or what do you call it? Exorcisms, whatever you want to call them. When you see those deliverance, it's a door that was open. The door was open, usually is from sin, right? Unforgiveness, bitterness, all those things. That's why you have to release those things and really do forgive, because you open a door for the enemy to come in and inhabit you. Because the spirit needs a house. Every spirit needs a house. We're spirits having we're spiritual beings having a human experience. We're spiritual beings, right? And so when you allow that's why it's important for you guys. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. That's why you got to be careful about who you lay down with, who you allow to have access to you. It doesn't even have to be laying down with somebody. It could be who has access to your ear. Who has access to your ear has access to your future. If you allow somebody to talk to you all the time, they're going to influence different thought patterns, whether you realize it or not, based upon the spirits that they're dealing with. So God in this time will eliminate certain people from having that ear space with you because of where they are and where they're going. And you're chosen. You can't walk that path. You can't have that in your ear every day. But we fight that. We resist that. We rebel against it. And we in turn take ourselves out of purpose, take ourselves out of alignment. And I promise you, when you're out of alignment, it's not a pretty place. It's not fulfilling to be out of alignment. And so in these moments, family, when you are struggling and you don't see the purpose and you don't see the promise, and you feel like God is breaking you, he is. But it's not to just break you. He's not cruel. He doesn't have or get satisfaction from harming you. But he understands that the only way to reteach you what pain taught you, because really the patterns that we've developed over time that aren't his patterns are patterns that life has taught us, is ways that we've protected ourselves and guarded ourselves from pain. And so in order for us to reach purpose, we have to unlearn patterns that were dysfunctional, that pain taught us to protect ourselves. Because the walls that we build up, I know I can speak for me, the walls of Jericho I had up were built from pain. And although those walls protected me, they also kept me from the very things that I wanted, I deeply desired, that I wasn't willing to admit. And why wasn't I willing to admit it? Because then I'd be vulnerable. And I didn't want to be vulnerable. I was scared of it. And now God has me on a camera every week being vulnerable. Because somebody else needs to see vulnerability. Needs to see that it's okay to be you. It's okay to be unapologetically you. And to own where you are in your journey. And to own what you look like. And to own all aspects of what God is doing in your life. I also wanted to normalize that this walk is not easy. In fact, if the walk is hard, you're probably walking it right. The walk is hard for me. Like, I'm believing God for things right now. A lot of those things I don't see. I see signs in the spirit. God shows me signs all the time. When I say all the time, I mean all the time. I think it's because he knows that I need a lot of reassurance in real life. So he shows me a lot of signs. He's given me a lot of dynamic women of God that hear from him as well. So prophetic women, like, listen, can tell you your business. They tell you something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I've allowed myself to be held accountable by them as well. Like, I don't want to be believing the wrong thing. Some of us, we don't hold ourselves accountable to anybody. We don't have anybody that's speaking to us, anybody that's holding, like, say, hey, listen, I feel like God's telling me this. Does that resonate with your spirit? Can you pray on that and let me know what God tells you? Because sometimes we just believe things because we feel like so strongly about it, but sometimes it's us. Our hearts are deceivable of all things, and is sick and desperately wicked. Who can understand it? You know, I have a friend of mine who has a platform, and there's women that really believe that that's their husband. But part of the wife-husband thing is that there's got to be a level of attraction, right? Your husband got to want you, and your wife got to want you too. Like, God is not going to put attraction in one and not put attraction in the other. It's going to be mutual. God is a God of order, and he's not going to do one thing and not do the other. He's going to work on two people at one time. That is what he's going to do. If you see any of these stories, both people were being spoken. God was speaking to them both. Now, one might have had the revelation that one was a spouse before the other, but they both was equally they were attracted to each other. There was a God was speaking to, like, I know I'm thinking of one story specifically. God was speaking to the man about her. Like, he couldn't run away from her. Like, not that she was always there or always present, but in the mental or just different things he was seeing, and he was like, he just kept thinking of her, or she kept coming up in his head. I was like, okay, there's something about this one. I don't know. I could normally just dance away, but this one is just, I don't know. It's something about her. Like, again, you know, God is not going to be dealing with one and not be dealing with the other. He might not have known at that moment that was his spouse. He found out later. He did a fast, and God revealed it to him, you know, in God's way. And he knew that was his wife, and they're still married to this day. But I've heard a lot of stories like that. You know, you have to, it's a mutual thing. I don't even know why I said that. But somebody might needed to hear that. We do need to hold ourselves accountable to other believers in this time. So that really does help, y'all. Walking on your own is hard because you're going to be dealing with things. And a lot of these moments, which is another part of it, being honest with God, being completely transparent with God, just letting it all hang out, you know, with God. But the other part of this is ending it with praise, understanding what God has done, not only for you, but what you've seen God do in other people's lives, praising him because he is still sovereign. There's this level of respect we must have with God, the fear of God. We don't talk to our mothers any kind of way. We don't talk to our dads any kind of way. We don't talk to our God any kind of way. We talk to him with some respect. But you could still say, God, what's going on? Like, God, please. And y'all, there's times where I scream. There's times where I am crying, where I'm like, I'm just on the floor, just before my, you know, where I worship, I'm on the floor just crying out to him. But there's not been a moment that I don't have that time with him and I don't get up better. Not one time. There's not been a time where I have that moment with God and I have not walked up better. I get up. I now am able to focus and I have the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. And if there's a part of me that needs to be checked, if there's a thought that needs to be casted down, he reveals that thought and I'm able to cast it down. He is I'm able to repent. I'm able to acknowledge it. And because usually, y'all, when we start spinning in anxiety, there's a belief that has come to the surface that is causing us to get into this space of what if, and then now we're now down the sea of what ifs, right? And there was a thought, there was a belief that basically was the domino that knocked all the dominoes down. And in that time with God, we're able to hear that. We're able to experience, okay, I know that this is what the thought is, and I'm able to say it out loud to God and to myself, and I'm able to release it, and God is able to fix it. What happens is we feel like we need to suppress it. We need to be strong and not share. And we have, y'all, to be in this walk, you have to. You cannot hold it in. You've got to let it out. Even King David, a warrior, a fighter, a mighty man of God, out here taking, unaliving people and taking names, would sit before God naked. I mean, just bare, just give it all to him. He literally would just give it, like cry, fall out, anything he needed to do. He let himself be free before God. That's why he was able to take over kingdoms the way he was. Because he had that ability to connect with God in that way. That's what made him unique. So I want to encourage you guys, when you have these moments, they are normal. It does not mean that you are in the wrong walk. In fact, you're probably in the right walk. If there's parts of you that are coming up, this fear, the vulnerability, I don't know, this, that, and the third, but it's imperative for you to take that before God and to be obedient. You getting out of obedience, God is speaking to you about an area of your life. If you're not walking in obedience, you are delaying your promised land. Don't blame God when the promised land don't come, because you opted your way out of the promised land by not being obedient. God's way is greater. Nothing that God has for you is inferior. It's always going to be superior. It's always going to be greater than whatever you could have ever had for yourself. So it's important and it's imperative for you to lock in. Lock in. Because I will tell you this, y'all, and I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but this is a very important topic for me. Even in moments in the past, because I was doing it my way, I had to provide for my way. I had to have insurance for my way, right? Because if it's my way, I got to make my way work. When it's God's way, the pressure's on him. He literally takes the pressure off of you. But what I do is I take the pressure back on me because I don't see how. And what God has reminded me in this time is, it's not on you to make this work. It's not on you to have to do all of this. It's on me. And he literally wants us to cast our cares and walk around like it's already done. Like, I'm dealing with that now. Like, God's like, I want you to walk around like I've already done it. I want you to live life and walk around like I've already done it. And there's fear, there's thoughts that come up in my mind. And I have to cast those things down and say, no, God, I trust you. No, God, I trust you. No, God, I trust you. I'm not going to let these doubts, I'm not going to let these fears take me off the path that you have me on right now. So in those moments where God is breaking parts of your flesh off, he's asking you to be vulnerable. He's asking you to take a step, even when you don't know how. This is not how you normally move. You don't normally do this. All that don't matter with God. He's going to ask you to do the very thing you said you would never do. That's just what he's going to do. The very thing you said, no, that's the thing he's going to call you to do, and you better do it. I know better sounds like really strong, and I'm not trying to be really strong, but what he has for you is worth you taking that step. Whatever he has for you on the other side that got you into this journey to begin with is worth that. Take it. Take it. Take the step. Take it now. And yes, you're going to be, oh my gosh, oh, this is tough. Oh, Lord, But there's going to be, after you do it, I promise y'all, the first time after I took a step of faith, I go back to that moment right now. I had so much peace. I remember going to, y'all, after that whole tantrum, crying, all the stuff. The next day, I'm in the car dancing, I'm singing. I'm like, it's like, I felt so good. I felt so good. And the situation didn't pan out the way I thought it would. The result wasn't what I thought it was, but I had so much peace. I felt so good with God. I realized that the promised land wasn't the gift. The where I was going wasn't the gift, but this alignment, this hearing God was such a gift. That was the gift. He was the gift. He was the prize. It wasn't about the promised land at all. So y'all, don't be so attached to the outcome. Just be obedient. Yes, it's going to look like it's not going to happen before it does. That's just the way it has always been. But when it does happen, it's like a Joseph moment or a Job moment where you get double for your trouble, where you're now second in command of all of Egypt, where you're now king of Israel, where you're now lifted up in ways with Daniel, the 3 Hebrew boys, when you now have that moment of like, wow, thank God I went through all that. Thank God this all happened. Because I wouldn't be here doing this the right way if God would have promoted me at any other time of my life. He needed me to be surrendered to process for me to steward this well. And I thank him for that. I thank him for that. There's no other time in my life that would be better for me to do this. And so, guys, my shirt says walk by faith. I pray that you walk by faith and not by sight. I say that even to myself. You can trust God. He's a good father. He's not going to steer you wrong. Take those steps of obedience. Take them with so much pride. Get that validation. Just imagine the choir of angels in heaven like, she did it! Yeah. Like I can imagine, like just think of it like a game or something, like where everybody watches the game like, he about to, oh yeah, everybody goes up and they just do this whole thing. Just imagine the angels doing that every single time. Every single time you're obedient, there's a choir of angels that are just, the parade in heaven is going crazy. You might not see it, but it's happening. They are literally leaping with their wings. Like, you did it, yeah. I knew Johnny was gonna do it. I bet you 10 angel bucks Johnny was gonna do it. Where are my angel bucks? Can you imagine they doing angel bets? Well, no, they probably not. That's gambling. But you know what I mean. Okay, you get the point. They just imagine heaven is going nuts. Because you finally doing it and you doing it God's way. And if there's no one telling you that they're proud of you for taking this step of faith, for walking this path, the harder path, the narrow path, if there's no one telling you how amazing that is, how awesome that is, how strong that is, because you're breaking generational curses, because you're walking in purpose, because you're about to make an impact on the world that no other person can make, I want to tell you right now, I'm proud of you. I want to tell you right now that no one thought you could do it, but you can. I want to tell you right now that whatever God is about to do in you is going to blow your mind. I want you to be so overwhelmed because every promise that he has given you, you keep walking this path, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. You are the generational curse breaker. You are. You never fit in. You didn't understand that, but that's because you weren't supposed to. God is about to do a new thing. Can you not perceive it? He is going to make a way in your wilderness, and he's going to provide streams in your desert. I'm proud of you. Keep going, family. Let's get to our promised land. Let's not waste no more time. And that's a wrap. If this episode spoke to you, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube or leave a review wherever you're listening. Let's keep the convo going. Connect with me on all socials. Remember, real beauty starts with you being true to yourself. I love you, family, and I'll see you soon.